Hi guys, I welcome you all to the next lecture in our anthropology series. So today we are going to complete 9.6 and today we are going to study the second part of this chapter, that is the physiological characteristics, that is the HB level, body fat, pulse rate, sensory perceptions in different socio-economic and cultural groups. So we are basically studying that how the different populations, the so-called races also you can say, for that matter, how they differ from each other based on certain bodily characteristics. So all these physiological characters are also body characters, right? And how these are different in different populations and what is the role of heredity and environment related to it. So we are going to study about all of that. Okay, so let's start. Okay, so the first thing that we are going to study is the variation in the body fat. For example, this picture that you are looking at, this is a woman of a Bushman or Hottentot, you can call her. Okay, Hottentot tribe, and she has a lot of, you can say, fat deposition in the buttocks region especially, and buttocks and thigh you can say. So this is a very, and this is not just a cartoon, and you mind it, this is actually the real kind of body fat that they have. And this is not something, she is not obese, she is a normal woman of a Hottentot tribe you can say. So now we are going to study how this happens and what all is there. So basically there is a unique distribution of fat in the body, and especially the subcutaneous fat. And subcutaneous fat क्या होता है? That is the fat that is deposited under the skin. ठीक है? So my body है, उसके under that there is a layer of fat. So that fat deposition and where it happens, right? So the heredity and environment both have a significant role to play in the fat levels of a person. For example, होता ना, somebody says I have the tendency to gain weight. What is that tendency to gain weight? That is maybe something which is, he is referring to a genetic thing कि mostly everybody is obese or fat in their family. So that is why he is referring to as I have the tendency to gain weight. Then some people, जैसे there were studies conducted on different groups of people, maybe they having same kind of diet, everything is same, but one group ultimately getting more fat than the other. So that is also something. So वो environmental characteristics हो सकते हैं. So therefore you can say जो body fat है, it's a very very variable character, because it is it has a sex related variation also, it varies with age also, it varies with socio-economic conditions also. For example, obviously a person who is rich will have more tendency to gain weight or have more fat deposition in the body than a person who's poor, because उसका तो calorie requirement ही पूरा नहीं हो रहा, right? Then age के हिसाब से, as you grow old, the tendency to gain fat कम हो जाता है, reduces, right? Then when you are a child, or when you are a neonate or a newborn child, for example, when the child attains the age of 34 weeks in the womb, ठीक है, when the child is still in the womb and he is around 34 weeks of age, ठीक है, it starts to gain weight, ठीक है, gain fat, and this fat deposition increases till 9 months after the birth also, ठीक है. So from 34 weeks to 9 months after birth the child gains fat, ठीक है. Thereafter the fat level starts to decrease for certain years because the growth spurt happens. So baby starts to grow, right? So that time the fat deposition decreases. Then after some time, ठीक है, after you can say 8-9 years of the life, ठीक है ना, they start to gain the weight again, ठीक है. Then in puberty there is a halting of fat deposition, especially in the boys. Females में it does not happen. So that is how it is a very variable character you can say, ठीक है. Then comes the nutrition and activity level with socio-economic dimension control body fat. We have talked about this. Also, the fat deposits in different parts of the body. For example, steatopygia in women of Hottentot. So we have talked about this. Okay? So जैसे ये, look at this. Now what is this? These are, you can also say, anthropometric measurements, anthropometric way of measuring the body type of a person, somatotypes. तो इनको हम somatotypes भी बोल सकते हैं. These are medium to, you can say, I'll have to change the color. Yep. So this is, ectomorphs are people who have a very lean body type. ठीक है? Then mesomorphs हो जाएंगे who are neither too lean or neither too like fat. And endomorphs are not fat, but you can say a stocky body type. ठीक है ना? They are not fat, they are stocky and healthy body types. ठीक है? मतलब ज़्यादा थोड़े से broad built होते हैं, the broad types. ठीक है? So but these are the body types. Now this, you can say, in females there is different type of body types, and based on that also you can see a lot. For example, some girls have hourglass type of body. That means the waist to hip region, ठीक है, there is a clear cut demarcation of fat. Then oval, that means more body fat here than on the legs or the arms, right? Then inverted triangle, that means it kind of reduces from upwards to lower. Then there can be a triangle, the inverted of the inverted triangle, है ना, सीधा हो जाएगा. That means upper body is thinner and then lower body is more fat deposition is there, right? Then similarly in males also, then you'll see some males tend to grow a belly, right? Mostly. So males को ज़्यादा fat is on the belly, ठीक है ना? So they have a different kind of fat than the females, right? So all this is what is the body fat and how it is deposited among different populations, among different socio-economic groups. ठीक है? Now second comes the pulse rate. Now what is the pulse rate basically? It is the number of times the heart beats per minute. ठीक है ना? How many times the heart beats per minute. ठीक है? So this is measured at the wrist, at the neck, at the back of your knees, but nobody prefers to do it at the back of the knee because that looks very odd also, because in these areas the arteries pass very close to the skin, so you can just see that, you can just feel that beats, right? वो जो beats होते हैं, you can just feel them, right? So measuring pulse, why is it important? Because it gives us important information about health of a person. ठीक है? That means, for example, if the normal pulse rate for a person is, you can say normal person's heart should beat around 70 beats per minute. Around, ठीक है? But some person who is at, and resting heart rate, this is, I am talking about a resting heart rate. That means a person who is not doing any physical activity or is not very, he is resting. In the moment he is resting. But at the resting time his heart is beating at 90 beats per minute. So it shows that, something is wrong, right? And also it shows that during and after an exercise, the fitness levels of a person. For example, when we exercise, we do something, obviously our heart rate is going to go up, right? For example, it is at 140 beats per minute, ठीक है? But now it has to drop and come to the normal level, right? But for example, in a normal person it comes like 20 beats per minute, it drops down like that. The second minute it should drop like 30 beats per minute, and then it comes to normal, ठीक है? So on, like 2-3 minutes में the person will come to normal. But let us suppose that this person, his heart rate is not coming normal in 2-3 minutes. It is taking more than, let's say, 5 minutes to come down, right? So that shows what is the fitness level of a person also. So I hope you understand this. Now newborns का क्या होता है? Newborns का, the heart rate is more, so it's like 100 to 160 beats per minute. It can vary, right? Similarly in children it is 70 to 120, and in well trained athletes is quite low, it's 40 to 60. Because क्या है basically, हार्ट बीट कर रहा है बिकॉज हार्ट it has to pump blood to the rest of the body parts, right? And that is why the heart is beating, and that is what is the pulse rate. ठीक है ना? So changes in this can show us about a lot about the heart health, right? So this is one thing. Then let's go to the next one. Second is the variation in the blood pressure. Now we were talking about that blood pumped by the heart into the blood vessels for its distribution to other parts of the body, because हमारी body को it requires blood, right? And the blood is pumped by the heart to the different parts of the body, and this must leave. For example, if this is my heart, ठीक है, if this is my heart, it must leave the heart at a pressure, and this pressure, because it has to overcome the friction offered by the forces, in this case the friction offered by the heart, right? So it must leave the heart at a pressure because the friction is offered by the heart. So the pressure at which blood leaves the heart is called the systolic blood pressure. ठीक है? This time the heart will make a contraction. ठीक है? And when the heart expands or releases, because क्या हुआ, आपने contract किया because you pushed the blood outside, right? Now you have to come back to normal, and that time the heart will expand. ठीक है? And the blood pressure would drop, and it is known as the systolic blood pressure. ठीक है? Pressure कम हो गया because now you have to normalize. You push, when you push you give a pressure, right? When you have to normalize, you don't have to put any pressure, so the pressure would come down, right? So that is known as the diastolic blood pressure. Now a normal person's blood pressure would be around 120 to 180. This is 120 by 80 means this is the systolic when the pressure increases, and this is the diastolic when pressure comes down, and this is a normal person. उसका measurement ऐसे होता है systolic and diastolic से, right? Any deviation from this number, for example 120 by 80 is the normal. So if a person is having, maybe you can say 160 by 100, this is not normal because systolic भी बहुत है, diastolic भी ज़्यादा है, right? And in many cases person could have only like 160 by 80 भी हो सकता है. That means diastolic normal है but systolic is high. So that can also happen. ठीक है? So now this is also considered कि मतलब researchers have shown that there is a positive correlation between the blood pressure and age and sex, hereditary, then social status of a person. That means all these things have a correlation. For example, if a person who is living in a very stressful environment, a person who is living in a industrialized world today, ठीक है, where there is so much of pressure, people are smoking, right? There is pollution, people are having a very sedentary kind of a lifestyle. So it's seen that these things have a, you can say they stimulate the blood pressure. Whereas a person who is living a very peaceful rural life, ठीक है, having a lot of rigorous work also, doing a lot of rigorous work also, eating very healthy things, ठीक है, तो blood pressure low रहता है. ठीक है? So that is how different you can say socio-economic parameters also affect the blood pressure. ठीक है? Now इसमें अगर if we have to talk about a neonate, that is a newborn baby, उसका blood pressure somewhere hovers around 70 by 50, right? So it can change. ठीक है? Now this is the table. You can see for a normal person, systolic and diastolic, ठीक है, anything ranges here with normal. Elevated, that means this person now is a borderline. That means this person can develop a problem of hypertension or hypotension, कुछ भी हो सकता है. ठीक है? Now BP is not a problem. हम लोग normally बोलते हैं इस person को BP है. BP हम सबको है, हम सब में blood pressure तो है ही ना. The problem is either it is hypertensive or कुछ और like that. ठीक है? So that is the problem. BP is not the problem, right? So elevated is slightly higher than the normal. Then high blood pressure would be a person जिसको hypertension develop हो रही है, and then hypertensive could be a person जिसका बहुत ज़्यादा BP है, right? Like 180 by 120. ठीक है? So this is, you can say. Next category is, now isme this is also written that it is estimated that 60% of the blood pressure variation is due to environmental factors and 48% genetic. So मतलब आप कह सकते हो overall BP का relation with genetics and environment. That means a person in whose family there is a family history of blood pressure, that then he can also develop such a problem. But if he keeps the environmental things under control, he might not develop. That means blood pressure has a strong correlation with the environment as well as the genetics. Now ऐसा भी है कि some person who is not having a genetic family history for the disease might develop it, obviously, because उसका environment खराब है, right? So heredity also shown a strong cause for BP. Now comes the next thing, and this would be the last thing that we are going to study. So variation in sense perception. Now what is sense perception? For example, if you touch a very hot surface, okay, you immediately take your hand away. That is what you have a sense. Okay, what is a sense? You touch something, you feel that stimulus goes to your head, brain. ठीक है, in the case brain में जाता है, ठीक है, the brain feels that it is hot and then you take off the hand from that hot surface. Now this is happening in, you can't even imagine कितने milliseconds में this is happening, right? So all these things, taste, ठीक है, touch, vision, ये क्या है? ये सब आपके sensory perceptions है. These are sensory perceptors. So based on this also you can differentiate between different socio-economic cultural populations. For example, इनमें से the most thoroughly surveyed is the taste of a PTC, which is known as phenylthiocarbamide, the taste of PTC, and the red green color blindness. So it has shown that different populations, different socio-economic groups have different stimulus to it. They behave differently. So the ability to taste the PTC is an autosomal polymorphic trait. Now what is this? We know that some traits are sex linked, ठीक है, and some are autosomal traits, right? That means वो पहले 22 pairs of chromosome से related है. So similarly ये एक autosomal polymorphic trait है. Polymorphic because more than one form is there, right? So a person who can taste the PTC, हम बोलेंगे either he is a TT or a TT. That means this person is homozygous to that trait, this person is heterozygous. But in this case हम बोल रहे हैं because the big T or the tasting वाला is dominant, so this person is able to taste it. ठीक है, only this person who has both TT as small is a non-taster. That means this person will not be able to taste PTC. And PTC थोड़ा bitter taste करता है मेरे हिसाब से. I have not tasted it, but as far as I can remember, I think so. Any person who is able to taste this phenylthiocarbamide is known as a taster, and in this case he should have this kind of a trait for it. And a person who cannot taste is known as homozygous non-taster, जो ऐसा होगा. You don't have to say homozygous, ठीक है ना? Non-taster is fine. So this is one thing. So this is used as one of the key indicators. Then a defective color vision is also used as a genetic marker. Now genetic marker, we have talked about genetic markers, that they have a known location, right? All of that. So genetic marker है, and हम इसको पढ़ते हैं. We see that different populations how they react to color blindness, ठीक है? So red green color blindness is an X-linked trait. Now ये phenylthiocarbamide was an autosomal trait. This is an X-linked trait. That means एक तो पहले sex linked है, sex linked में भी X chromosome से related है, ठीक है? So I hope there is no confusion there. And people in this red green blindness basically fail to distinguish between the color red and green. I'll just show you the picture also. For example, a person, this is a red apple, this is a green apple, and this is a normal golden yellow apple, right? The person who has a color blindness now, he cannot either see the green color and either see the red color. so he'll see something like this and green something like this. ठीक है, so for him maybe सारे ही golden apples हैं, and if he's told to pick like a red apple, तो बताओ how will he do it? It is tough. ठीक है, so red green blindness people have a vision something like this. Then we have our, this is how the tasting for PTC is done. Some strip kind of a thing is there, and then you taste it on your tongue, and you see it whether you can taste it or not. ठीक है, so women are seen to be more sensitive to the taste of PTC than the males, and this study was done in Balkan states as well as Burma, ठीक है, now Myanmar, and then Nigerian population also. So this was a study which was done in among these population, and it was seen that females are more sensitive to the taste. That means like sensitive होंगी तो females ही, obviously males तो sensitive कहाँ होते हैं, right? So on a very lighter note I'm saying this, but obviously females are sensitive to the taste of PTC. And then in India, if we talk about Muslims, they do not show any sex differences in tasting the PTC. ठीक है, so I hope this topic is clear, and with this we have finished our 9.6 also. Tomorrow we'll start with 9.7, that is concepts and methods of ecological anthropology, and it has some very important you can say concepts with related to हमारा biological anthropology. So please stay tuned, and if you like the lectures guys, please like, share and subscribe. Thank you.